Patreon backer Ernestine Wolf has suggested I talk about she just read, well, they're handing out survival pamphlets in Guam in case of a nuclear missile attack from North Korea, right? That's what's going down. And she wanted to know what our government recommends you do in this worst case scenario. Well, this is the kind of scary thing about this whole North Carolina stuff is, North Carolina is scary too, but North Korea is what we're talking about is even more scary because they have nukes. There is an interesting article in The Intercept that's like the best way to get North Korea to not attack is to not attack them first. And that's what we're doing. We're provoking these little people, this little country that is very small. It is not a world power. And yes, Kim Jong-un is, he's a dictator. He's probably a wingnut. And if I lived in Seoul, Korea, I'd be worried if that was my neighbor. I mean, it affects the whole region. I've been to Japan many times, and they're worried about it. But getting back to Ernestine Wolf's question, she's a Patreon supporter, and thanks for supporting the show, I was watching, there's a news report on CNN. I have Apple TV, so I was just watching CNN's little clips because I don't subscribe to that. But one of them was just like a report for people in Hawaii about preparing for the aftermath of a nuclear attack. And they just did this report like, no one's questioning how crazy it is. So they're saying stuff like seek a bomb shelter, have food and water, because it's the fallout afterwards that'll get you, and all this crazy shit. And they just do it so straightforward. Like they're giving like beach tips, like bring plenty of sunblock and drink water so you don't get dehydrated and take breaks in the shade, and just like they're just giving this report on CNN like it's no big deal. Like, well, guys, I guess we got to get ready for an atomic war, and they have it's all this madness, and part of it is Ernestine, is that's keeping everybody scared and distracted. So, I just did another story about pensions. So your pension is underfunded and that's eroding and the economy's about to collapse, but don't worry about that. Go buy gas masks and bottled water because, Honolulu might get hit. And it's just insane. And then they have generals on CNN just talking about counter strikes and collateral damage and acceptable losses. Like, it's just insane. People don't understand what they're talking about. Like, literally, Jake Tapper was the only guy. Everyone else is just sort of like, wow, boy, things are getting ratcheted up. And it's like, am I the only one sitting here going, is the world going to end? And I think you're feeling it. And I think the fact that the government is just, Ernestine, what the government does recommend you do is, have food and supplies so you can stay inside. And seek a bomb shelter. Are we back in the 50s where everyone's building bomb shelters? And the birth of the crazy survivalist culture? And I've talked to several people about this over the weekend. They just felt like there was a tension and people were sort of not paying attention, and there was this like, holy shit, it's all coming undone, and everyone's reacting to that differently. Some people are reacting by just like checking out, whoop, just gonna go party, gonna go drink, woohoo, I don't watch the news. Some people like super vigilant, super wigged out. Some people just like, I felt myself a little out of it lately. And the fact that our government isn't talking about how do we de-escalate this. The South Korean president is like, let's settle down here, because he knows he'll get wiped out if there's a big war. His country and his people will get wiped out. And we're not. It's crazy to watch just the corporate media and the war machine just go right. Might be a big nuclear war. Might have to invade North Korea. They're all like jacked up for more war. And it just shows that this country is a war machine, and that's all people are thinking about. I mean, that's the whole, everything is being put in that direction. So then it doesn't seem absurd that they're doing news reports on what to do in the event of an atomic blast. And they showed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And they're like, it killed whatever, 40,000 people on impact, but it was another 40,000 people or whatever the number was who died in the aftermath. So Honolulu residents or Oahu residents, prepare for this. And it's just, they're normalizing it. They're like getting everybody ramped up to normalize Cold War again. They need another Cold War, which is a fine distraction, and it is great to spend money on. The military loves a good Cold War, because then we got to spend billions and billions of dollars on a weapons system. Remember, Reagan's whole thing was the Star Wars system. So if we have the Star Wars system, then if the Russians try to bomb us, we can blow them out of the sky, and we're going to be safe. And it's just, it's madness. It's just truly madness. And the normalization of never-ending enemies and a perpetual state of war and get ready for war and making it okay for people. So there's going to be acceptable losses. Like, well, we didn't lose all the Hawaiian Islands, so it's still cool. Like, what are they talking about? Guam? Well, we might get Guam, and then I don't know. Like, so I appreciate you bringing this up, Ernestine, because it's I think it's on a lot of people's minds, and it's like I don't know how to kind of get my head around it. But thank you for supporting the show at the patreon.com/Graham Elwood. And yeah, I don't know that I'm going to be preparing for an atomic war, because I don't know if that happens. I don't think I want to live after that, which is sort of brutal. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. I feel like everything is surreal. I think some people are just losing it. I don't know what's going on. I think some people feel like the end of the world's coming, so they just got a YOLO. I don't know what. But I'm not going to participate in the hysteria. I'm going to try to stay away from it as best as possible and hope that someone cooler heads prevail. Because this is, you want to talk about being powerless. Like, I call lawmakers. I mean, Jill Stein and the Green Party were like, call the White House, call lawmakers and say what's going on. And I think that's valid. Let your voices known, heard, let your opinion known that you don't want any sort of war, any sort of atomic anything. We don't want to use this fire and fury like it's never seen before, whatever fucking dumb Trump says. So it's scary. This is what happens when a lunatic gets elected. This is what happens when you have no resistance from the liberal elite, when the liberal institutions have been completely eroded by corporations and corruption. This is what happens when you have a Democratic Party that cheats Bernie Sanders in the primary and puts up Hillary Clinton, who's a warmonger, pro-corporate, pro-banking person anyway. And now we have a lunatic in the White House. It's just awful. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and listen on iTunes.